Today on Locked On Red Wings, we start our player previews not with the players, but the coaching staff. How much can Todd McLellan and his staff elevate the Red Wings in the upcoming season?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We're your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. And let's give a round of applause for Scott Bentley. His Detroit Tigers finally broke the losing streak and got a win. I'm even repping the Tigers hat just because, they deserve it after putting up a 10 spot, although it's still very alarming. Their low-leverage relievers cannot get 3 outs between the two of them, but, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I'm detaching myself from their results. Okay, I'm not going to be responsible. I don't want responsibility when they lose, so don't give me any credit when they win. I'm detaching myself from that. The last 2 weeks have been not fun. So,
how about you attach yourself to a little bit of Locked On Red Wings conversation? We're going to be talking about the coaching staff today. Something that's kind of been on the back burner. We've talked about it here and there a little bit in episodes. We've never really dedicated any time for it necessarily. But obviously the Red Wings have a new head coach as of last December, halfway through the season. They got rid of a couple assistant coaches as well after the season ended and brought in new faces too. So it's going to be our first full season with the Todd McLellan experience. And we want to talk a little bit about how much do we think we can expect, point totals, win totals, whatever, from Todd McLellan and his coaching staff, or is this team kind of just, more about the players on the ice? So we'll talk about that, but first, got to let the people know today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, Scotty, to set the table for the conversation, let's just, talk about mention who's left and who has joined before talking about what we expect. Obviously, Derek Lalone, Bob Bugner were the first to go. They left immediately on December 26th, the day after Christmas. It was very polite of Steve Yzerman to, wait until the day after to announce those moves. And they brought in Trent Yawney and Todd McLellan, and the team soared to new heights for quite a long time before March. And they finished this season under Todd McLellan 26-18-4. Since then, they have also gotten rid of Alex Westland, who is the goaltending coach, LJ Scarpacci, who is the video coach, and as well as Jay Verity, too, who all those guys, minus Westland, as far as I can tell, have landed new jobs, but that's not the point of the episode. They brought in Michael Layton with NHL experience to be the new goaltending coach, and Jeff Weintraub to replace Scarpacci as the video coach. I think the first question here, Scotty, is the big one, right? How much of an impact on the points, on the win totals, do you think that Todd McLellan can have versus, should have?
it's a great question. Because I think, you look at last year, I mean, we saw the full spectrum, right? Like, we saw what happens when everything's clicking, and we saw what happens when nothing is clicking. And I feel like not a whole lot of like a prolonged period of time of kind of in between. So I'm really, the biggest thing I'm hoping for is just a little bit more consistency. I know that like part of asking for consistency is kind of, I don't know, like not even real, like fake. Like you're going to have bad periods and good periods.
Right.
When you go on a micro level. But I think it's fair to ask for a little bit more consistency than like the best team I've ever seen in January and then the worst team I've ever seen the rest of the season. So like I think that is really the biggest thing I'm looking for. I mean, in terms of like how much of a point total swing, I mean, you could really just kind of open the door and ask that about the sport. Like how much in the sport of hockey, how much, people debate that in baseball all the time too. Like how much is a coach or a manager really worth in terms of the win column. And I think that there's obviously a lot of nuance with that, and certain coaches probably affect the game in different ways, or certainly affect the game in different ways. I think the biggest thing for the Wings this year is, and the offseason is already like kind of behind us in terms of, making additions and whatever to the roster. But the biggest thing we were really looking for was, to get, he is going to be able to have a full offseason to implement his system. And we want players that fit, obviously, that system. And you didn't really add a whole lot in terms of outside talent. So really, this is about the players that you do have and the players from last year coming back. And we've talked about this before, but just getting a full offseason and training camp and preseason and start of a regular season with the same structure in place and the same system already implemented, so that they can actually have time to learn it and not just have it dropped on them on the fly in the middle of a season. So I don't think that this is like, we improved coach and now because we improve the guy behind the bench, the point total is going to go up 15 points or whatever. Like, I think that's a little ridiculous, but I think that this is really just about again, kind of a system being in place for longer than a couple of months. And hopefully it is one that benefits, the personnel that the Wings have on the team.
Yeah, I think for me, because at the end of the day, right, Scotty, the players on the ice are going to be what determines if the team wins or lose. Mm-hmm. The coaching staff can only do so much. You can implement a system and you can hope that they learn enough of the system to play well within it, but hockey's a very fluid sport. It's like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth in hockey. As soon as the puck drops, it can be turned into chaos. So it's, can they, when things go awry, get back on track? And so I think with me, that's the biggest thing I'm looking for from Todd McLellan, is helping this team create a culture of not spiraling. And not like when you get into those stretches where things go tough, have the inability of getting out of them. Like being able to regroup and not be mentally soft. And I hate that term, but it's so true with this team. When they play with their highs and they look unbeatable, but then when they suck, when they start stinking, right? They go through those valleys. They can't pull themselves out of it. McLellan and Yzerman have talked about it. So for me, I think like Todd McLellan as a whole, like, brings me a lot of hopium, in the way he carries himself, in that he'll be able to get this team to believe in itself. This is not a shot at Derek Lalonde. He's a good guy. He's a really good person, but he was not capable of getting this team out of the gutter. And granted, Todd McLellan saw that same thing here, and that's when he talked about it. But if Todd McLellan can be the coach that can ride you when you need to be, when you're being soft, and he can be the coach that can, compliment you when you're having a great game, do best of both worlds, and every player needs to be handled differently, then the team has the opportunity. And he strikes me as the type of coach who knows which player needs what kind of coaching style. He strikes me as the coach who knows what to do, and he knows he's like when to crack the whip sometimes and get this team, get the fire under their ass. We saw that with the first week of practices, right? Play effing hockey. So that to me is why I do have a lot of optimism about Todd McLellan in his first full season with the team, because he has that fire in him that at times I didn't feel I saw with the previous regime. They were much more calculated, logical, and sometimes you need a little bit of emotion. And I think he's going to bring a good balance of that. I don't think he's going to be overly emotional like a John Tortorella, but I think he is going to know when he has to kick his team in the ass. And I think that's what makes me most excited. In fact, Scotty, I would think that a first full year under Todd McLellan is probably, I would argue, the third biggest reason the Red Wings could improve. We talked about that, right? We did that episode, Reasons Why the Red Wings Could Improve. obviously, again, the players on the ice are going to be the biggest reason. You have your youth taking another step forward in their development. That'll be huge. You have hopefully figured out your goaltending situation with John Gibson. That's number 2. Having a full year under Todd McLellan, I think could be very well number 3. So if you're looking for reasons to be optimistic as to why this team could take a genuine step forward, I think it's going to be Todd McLellan and his coaching staff.
Yeah, and if obviously if they get to a point where they are back in like the playoff picture, or we're even in late March, early April, and they're in a playoff spot, then obviously that's something that's going to happen. Like they're not going to be good if McClellan's system sucks and we think he's an awful coach. Like if they are going to play well, it is going to have to have that along with it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
At the end of the day, it depends on the players on the ice.
Like Lalonde was a point away from a postseason berth, and he got fired 2 months into the following season. Like, this is. We'll see. I think I'm very optimistic about a lot that happened last year, but also, the collapse was under his watch as well. So I think that this is, again, I'm not really looking for like a huge spike in terms of, like this Wings team all of a sudden is like an 100-point team with the same players, and McLellan is it's all thanks to him. Like I'm not expecting that. I'm not asking for that. I literally just want consistency. I just want a little bit of this is like 3 years running that this team has just been the most inconsistent dumpster fire ever. I'm just looking for a little bit of like, hey, maybe the same team shows up night in and night out. And I hope that is what I want to see out of them. I'm not asking for point totals or a certain unit to be, a certain level of production, whatever. I literally just want them to be consistent.
Right. And like, you're going to have slumps and you're going to have peaks, but you just want those slumps to not be month long. That's the kind of consistency you're looking for. Slumps are relegated to 3 to 4 games max, and then you get right back to winning games the way you should be. Let's take a break, Scotty. When we come back, I want to talk about maybe what you're hoping to see with the team on the ice out of the McLellan stuff, and then we'll move on to talking about Daniel Sprong, who has moved over to the KHL. Stay tuned to Locked on Red Wings. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast, a late segment 2. Scotty, I kind of talked about how the biggest thing I want to see McLellan and his staff change be the mentality. That soft mentality where when they start to lose, they struggle to pull themselves up out of those depths. What other things are you hoping to see this team take steps forward with?
This is going to shock you.
I'm putting it on a tee for you.
Yeah, right. This is going to really surprise a lot of people, but I would love to see maybe the exact opposite of whatever they were running on the penalty kill last year. Like literally the opposite. Find the inverse of whatever was happening on the penalty kill last year and try that maybe. And he did a little bit of tweaking throughout the season with it.
It didn't really help.
But yeah, like A, it didn't help, and B, I feel like, and this is why, again, going back to the segment 1 conversation, like why this offseason and training camp is so important is like this is an opportunity for him to kind of just start from scratch and not have to, like, I feel like when you're hired mid-season like that, you almost just have to like your adjustments have to be small because you have to keep them kind of
Oh, yeah.
similar to what was going on when you got there and not just completely throw everything away, with a game tomorrow. But at the same time, I think that is a department that obviously needs to be worked on. And like 5-on-5 play needs to be better, right? Like pretty much everything besides the power play needs to be better. But I think that because of the influx of kind of outside voices that are now a part of the coaching staff, I would really like to see the penalty kill look, again, completely different and just get a total overhaul.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing is can they fix the penalty kill? And I think part of last season was bad luck too. There were a lot of instances where you get bad breaks. Like I have a hard time. I have a feeling that if they were to trot out the same PK the way they did last year, this year, they would be better. Just because being that bad is almost just impossible. They were almost historically bad. So you get new coaching staff in here, obviously. You still have Trent Yanni and Alex Tanguay, who's been around since Blashill. Is still that dude's a wizard on the power play, and so he's been sticking around.
Clearly.
Michael Layton comes in. You do have both Cam Talbot and John Gibson were two of the worst goalies on the penalty kill by save percentage. That's not all on them, mind you. Again, they played behind some of the worst penalty kill defense on both of their respective squads with the Ducks and the Detroit Red Wings. But you hope that Michael Layton can come in and help revitalize the goaltending, help them stay stable. You hope that Trent Yanni and McLellan can implement a special teams on the PK that can be better. And for what it's worth, Scotty, I mean, in their 48 games underneath Todd McLellan, even with the horrible March, they were 26-18-4 in those 48 games, even with the terrible March. And they had a Corsi for percentage of 49.9, so about 50%, just 1/10 of a percentage below that. You want to be 50% on that. And their Fenwick was 50.1%. So, like, they were playing much better at 5-on-5 via the more Corsi. I don't like that Corsi is considered an advanced analytic because it's literally just shot attempts.
Oh, okay. You started off with "I don't like Corsi," and I was like, "Whoa!" And then finished your sentence, and I was like, "Okay, actually."
It's literally just a counting stat. It's really not that advanced. It's just did they try to shoot the puck? That's all it is. So it was 50-50 under Todd McLellan, and their PDO was 97%. And for those who are wondering what PDO is, it's basically your luck quotient.
Yeah.
And it generally across an entire season will, by the end of the year, come back to around 100. Well, he was 3 percentage points below 100 in his 48 games. So they were, despite the fact they were being better at carrying play at 5-on-5 over that stretch, they were still unlucky in that play as well. And that's all at 5-on-5. So, like, there is right there, like, there are snippets of data that you can pull in the 48 games McLellan's had in a half season's worth of workload where he's had to fly by the seat of his pants with a roster that just gets down on itself, and he still is able to pull a 542 win percentage. Like,
yeah,
there's
a save percentage. Yikes, bro! You gotta find a new career. Yeah, no, you're right though. You're right.
There's reasons to be optimistic with this coaching staff. So I think that's the big thing. Is just if you're looking for reasons to be hopeful. Again, for me, it's going to be number one, your youth. Number two, what?
My computer's making noises. Sorry.
Oh, I thought I said something dumb. I mean, I do say things dumb all the time, but
yeah,
it's again, number one is going to be your youth taking a step forward, your coaching or your goaltending being more stable, and then going to be your coaching staff making this team be a more consistent hockey team. And I think that there is reason to have hope with that too. So that's about it. Scotty, you got anything else to say about the coaching staff?
I don't think so, man. After the last couple of years, getting some new faces in here, never a bad idea. And yeah, I think we're just. It's honestly, it's one of the things I'm looking forward to most in training camp is, obviously like lines and units, right? Like who's on the kill, who's on the power play units, whatever. But I think that. Again, like just a huge question is going to be how they look over a, again, like prolonged period of time, which is super easy to say and like is a captain obvious statement, but this team has sucked at that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Segment 3 coming up. We're going to talk about Daniel Sprong and the Eras Knights at Little Caesars Arena. Scotty, Daniel Sprong, former Detroit Red Wing, in the news as he is departing from the NHL to go overseas to the KHL on the Red Wings 2 seasons ago. He's going to be playing with CSKA Moscow, which is the same team as the Detroit Red Wings second-round pick, Dmitry Buchelnikov. And it kind of shocked me. I don't know how you feel about it, but it kind of shocked me there wasn't an NHL team that was willing to give him a contract, at least not one more competitive than what Russia offered.
Yeah. I mean, shout out my dog. Like, I don't know, like that. Yeah, shout out. Kind of cool that he's playing with not only just like any Wings prospect, but one that, people are pretty darn excited about as well. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I hope he's able to keep playing as long as he wants, but
yeah, I mean, he played, it was so strange because he had such a solid year with the Red Wings, right? Now, solid point total wise. Like, he's a flawed player. He really is. He had 43 points in 76 games with the Detroit Red Wings. You would think, like, those 76 games would be because he was hurt. No, he was getting scratched late in the year because despite the fact that he had 18 goals and 25 assists, the production wasn't outweighing how poorly he was playing defensively. And that ultimately is probably what killed his NHL career, because despite the fact that he is a phenomenal bottom six scorer, like you put him on the power play, he's going to pot you goals. He's going to score you some goals on the power play or on the even strength if you put him in the offensive zone. Just unfortunately, one of the lesser skilled defensive players I've seen in the NHL. And, at least with DeBrincat, you can always say the effort's there. There were definitely a lot of times with Daniel Sprong where he was kind of waiting for the puck to come to him, not really doing his due diligence in the defensive zone. And that's what pushed him out of the lineup despite being over half point a game with the Detroit Red Wings. And then the following year, he started the season with the Vancouver Canucks, got picked up off waivers, I believe, by the Seattle Kraken, played 10 games there, and then must get picked off waivers again, went to the New Jersey Devils. Did he go Vancouver, Seattle, Vancouver again, then New Jersey? I feel like he went back and forth between Seattle and Vancouver. He was all over the place last year.
Yeah, by like the third time he was put on waivers, I didn't even keep track.
Between those three teams, he had a combined 30 games and 7 points. So a steep departure from what he was with the Red Wings before that. And even you look back with the Seattle Kraken the year prior to that, he scored 46 points in 66 games. That was the year they made the playoffs, I believe. So just like a really weird glass cannon player who has the offensive upside to be, he has a middle six offensive upside, but just below replacement level defensive downside. And if you can't do both, at least at a replacement level, you're not, unless you're one of the generational goal scorers, like you're not going to be able to get away with that in the NHL. And he did not.
You ain't Patrick Kane, baby.
I mean, another example of that is Andreas Athanasiou, right? Someone who had all of the offensive.
That's the one I love. I loved bringing up when Sprong played here. I remember talking about that a lot. Yeah.
I mean, dude could just shoot the puck. Sprong, that is. Just absolutely shoot the puck. And he was really fun to watch with the Red Wings when he was scoring goals. But, he's good luck in the KHL. Help convince Buchelnikov to come over to Detroit at the end of this season. That'd be appreciated. Be a double agent there, Daniel.
Yeah, right.
Double agent Daniel. That's what we're gonna call him.
Wow, nice alliteration there.
I'm very smart.
Oh.
Could have just agreed with me.
Could have.
The final thing on the docket, Scotty, is just, I guess, counts as Red Wings news. The Red Wings are doing Eras Nights, and no, it's not Taylor Swift. It has to do with the centennial season and they're doing specific nights catering to the history of the team. They're doing a Origins night in October, Origins era, which talks about the beginning of the team. I imagine that goes through the Cougars and the Falcons era. Then in November, they're doing a Dynasty era, so I would imagine either they're combining the couple dynasties the Red Wings had, or they're committing that to like the 1950s era. After that, they're doing iconic moments from Olympia and Joe Louis Arena. That's going to be in December. There's a lot of iconic moments from that, as the Olympia and Joe Louis spanned all of the Red Wings history and pretty much all of it up until 2017.
Right.
They're doing the Dominance era in January. I think I'm most curious about that because I feel like the Dominance era is going to be very similar to the Dynasty era in terms of theme. But, I mean, I guess they could retread it and just, relive the glory days twice. No big deal there. And then there's the Next Flight era in March and April, which I'm assuming will cater towards the current iteration of the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think, I don't know, maybe there's like the Dynasty is a little bit more like zoomed out. Like you can really do from like, I don't know, 96 to 09.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Dominant might be just like, I don't know, 99 to 02. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of fun they can have with it, though. And it'll be really cool just to have a lot of the former Wings just in around the team kind of all year. I mean, that's, this fan base eats that stuff up as they should.
Yeah.
And it'll be a fun thing happening off the ice. Hopefully they can follow up by adding some fun stuff on the ice.
I would feel like the Dynasty era would be like the 1950s span of Stanley Cup champion, and then the Dominance, because you said the Dominance era would be like 95 to 02.
No, I just said the Dynasty era could be, because I don't know, I felt like the Olympia and Joe Louis thing would be more of like the 50s, but I guess that's
probably
Joe Louis too, so
we're probably overthinking it. There's probably a lot of overlap.
yeah, it probably just all over like labs with each other and doesn't matter
Right.
at all, and we're just rambling about nothing. But
it is July 28th. So
right.
we tend to do that. But yeah, so that's going to be fun. I will confess, and this might just be how I'm poisoned by my wife's, things she likes. But when I saw the tweet, like, Eras Nights, I was like, oh, they're doing Taylor Swift themed nights. I literally did think that when I first saw it. And then I watched the video, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they do a Star Wars night, so got to grow the game somehow.
That's like on May 4th, though. Like,
what would be the Taylor Swift day? The day that would be like most obvious.
You're gonna get me yelled at by Swifties. I have no whatever the name. Didn't she have an album that like the name of the album was literally a date or something?
It was the year she was born, 1984, 1986, something like that. I don't know.
I thought it was like, okay, that's a year that we can't really do anything with that.
January 9th? No, that's just 19. Can't do that.
I don't know, dude. Ask Allison. She probably has an answer for that.
Allison, since I know you'll be listening to this, I'm directly addressing you. What would be the day that they would do a Taylor Swift night? If they had to, so they do May the 4th for Star Wars, as in May the 4th be with you. What would be the day that would make more sense to have a Taylor Swift night? Reply in the comments below. Don't talk to me. Reply in the comments below.
I'm not going to talk to my wife, so just leave a comment, please. Thanks.
Hasn't even been a year yet, man. Jeez. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode on Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.